All right. Welcome, everybody, to Chalice and Chains. My name is Sam. I'm back finally running a game, which makes me exceedingly happy. And I'm running Basic Fantasy, which also makes me very happy. So today we are going to be playing with Anthony and Caleb, and Nate may or may not join us depending on whether or not he's able to, which is fine. And the purpose of this session today is to be a little bit, informal. We're going to run using the Basic Fantasy rules, but it's really to kind of test out a premise for a starting adventure that I might want to use in a campaign at some point. It's centered around a small remote village known as Dell's Ford. And our two characters are first level, so that's kind of scary in Basic Fantasy because you could die easily. We're going to be playing this mostly rules as written. However, I did add a couple of supplements, which you can find on basicfantasy.org. Things like the combat options, which we don't have a fighter, so, we have cantrips for the cleric, because cantrips are awesome. And we did use a few others, but we also use the equipment pack supplement, which makes kind of resource management a little bit easier in my opinion. Honestly, the longest part of creating Basic Fantasy characters is picking your equipment. So with that, I'm going to get started. This is going to have a little bit of a darker theme, hopefully, but we'll see how it goes. So let's jump into it. So this starts with your heart just beating. And Brother Dab, you feel as though you have this you're just sweating profusely. It's this heat that's just unnatural for this time. It's early autumn in Dell's Ford, and so it shouldn't be this hot. And you feel almost as if you're near like a campfire or something, but everything is in shadow, everything's hazy, and you feel this sense of dread and this sense of terror. You look around and you see this figure, this woman hunched over. She seems rather familiar to you, but you can't quite make out her features. And what's really strange is you have a sensation that you might be in some sort of building, but everything is blurry almost in your peripheral vision. Although maybe blurry isn't the right word. Maybe it's obscured or hazy because of the shadows.
Like tunnel vision?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like tunnel vision. But this woman, this female figure in front of you is very, very clear. And you find yourself moving towards this figure, and as you get close, that sense of dread starts to increase ever more, and your heart feels like it's going to start beating out of your chest. You're feeling real fear at this point. And almost as if you're being pulled against your will, you come right up close to this woman, almost so that you could feel her breath on you, although her head is down. And she looks up at you, and her eyes are wide open, but they are just pure shadow. She opens her mouth, and this language starts to come out. And for a minute, you can't process it because you're totally paralyzed in fear. This woman is someone you recognize, although it can't quite possibly be her. This is Rosa, the woman that you love, but it's not. And the words coming out of her mouth are just cutting into your soul, just utterly terrifying. But you can't understand them. And then finally, you as you're trying to kind of pull yourself away, trying to get out of this situation because you know this is dangerous, her head kind of goes back, her eyes close, and then she looks back down, and her eyes are normal again for just a moment. And as she opens her mouth, she's moving her lips like she's trying to speak. That infernal voice is gone, but this smoke comes out of her mouth, and it's almost as if in the smoke you can hear the words, "Help me." And then your eyes open real wide and you awaken in your bed with a start as you realize that this was a dream. But you felt almost as if this was like a battle for your soul, and something was really bad. And you get a bad feeling that Rosa might be in some trouble. So if you can, Caleb, go ahead and describe where you wake up and how you're feeling, and kind of who is Rosa, or what might have been the most recent interaction you've had with Rosa.
All right. Well, Brother Deb probably sleeps at in the back of the church. Probably very simple room. Probably bunked with the other kind of like acolyte there, Talvin. So Dab would have. Well, and Rosa, Dab is a somewhat newcomer to the town. Dab used to be a soldier. He's been in 2 battles. The second one, he got injured almost right away. Nasty damage. Actually, permanent nerve damage. So he kind of like every so often twitches. The church is what healed him up. So he kind of feels indebted to him. He's not a full priest, but he is trying to help out the church as much as he can. Rosa kind of came to the village at the same time, but she is from a faraway land. She's got a very like exotic. Her look is exotic. The way she speaks is exotic. The accent, and pretty much since then I've had a crush, like a secret crush on her. But because of my injury, I'm just scared and ashamed to even pursue it. No idea if she even knows who I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I was asleep, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd probably sit straight up. Rosa? Probably like wipe off his hands, just like covered in sweat. What the? Just heavy breathing, looking around. What happened? What was that? And finally, he's in his regular room?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first thing, I would just get up, get dressed, probably still a little on the disoriented side, probably every so often kind of like doing that while trying to pull on some clothes. He does have a set like leather armor. He kind of kept that from his soldier days. He wears the white robe, but he wears the armor over the robe. Mm-hmm. Looks a little, not too out of place, but a little odd. And he's got a thick quarterstaff that mm-hmm. he uses it as a walking stick, but can easily be used as a weapon, no problem. Sure. So I can like power hobble with the staff out to the front of the church. Anybody be there? Or
yeah. So before you make it out of the church, kind of as you're coming into the main area, you see another familiar figure, kind of roaming around, looking, pacing almost nervously. And as you kind of come out into the hallway here, you recognize the form of Father Francis, who's the head of the order here, the grand acolyte of Iran, the Lord of Light. He's an old man, beloved in the town. He's sort of one of those jolly old guys. He's not a hellfire and brimstone kind of preacher, right? He believes in the real works of the church and trying to bring betterment and light and peace to the village, especially with the darkness of the terrible forests surrounding. And so seeing him worried like this is troubling. But when he sees you, he says, Brother Dab, it is good to see you. What awakens you at this time of night?
So I guess his original plan was to get up and kind of exit church. But as this happens, I kind of shift. I start kind of like I'm not crippled, but I mean, it's kind of like I'm hobbling over. Father, I had a horrible dream. The girl, Rosa. You know Rosa? Is she, is she okay? He's still like breathing very heavy. Like his heart is probably still like racing.
Sure.
Like crazy.
And with a genuine look of sort of sympathy, Father Francis kind of reaches out and puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "It will be all right, my child. I'm sure the woman is fine, but we do have a problem that I need you to look into." He says,
You see he like rubs his eyes. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, Father. Okay.
He says that, and I'm sorry, what was the guy, Talion? Your friend there, Taliesin? I can't remember his name. Talvin. There we go. Sorry. He says, Brother Talvin has been missing now this will be going on the third day. I'm getting worried. He should have been back by now.
Talvin?
Indeed, yes. He went down below to the secret library, and I fear he has not returned.
Oh, this can't be connected. Okay. Do you want me to go down?
And he says,
"Is this secret library? Is this in the church?"
Yeah. So you would have heard about the secret library. Underneath the church proper there's two things, right? The first thing is a library that was actually once, at least the rumors say, belonged to an ancient wizard. And so there's all these sort of magical tomes and whatever. And so, of course, the priests decided, well, we need to, kind of guard this thing, make sure that this is all okay. And they've tried to study some of it, but it's difficult for them they're not wholly religious texts, right? There was also rumored to be some sort of either temple or ritual chamber in there, but that's never been found. And also there's the crypts, the crypts for the priests and the sort of notables of the town. Below, there's a churchyard as well, but the high holy venerated people have their own crypts underneath the town as well. So underneath the church, but of course only people chosen to tend the crypts or whatever are allowed to go down there. So he says, I fear it might be worse than that. Come to my chambers and I will tell you what is going on. Someone such as yourself, well, you're the only one I can trust, and I fear I'm too old to journey down there after Brother Talvin myself. Will you come with me?
Oh, yes. I'll look into Brother Talvin.
And
I'd much anything for him.
Good. And so, he kind of turns and he's bringing you back to his chamber, and as this happens, you realized as you kind of exited your room, you had a small fire going because the night had been cold. And you realize now after the fact that you felt really hot when you were in that room. Like it seemed really strange. And as you're walking by, you start to see the sort of braziers on the wall that kind of are always lit at night because, the priests will come and go from time to time, so they don't want it to be pitch black in there. They start to sort of flare unnaturally, not in any sort of pattern or whatever, but just they're not their normal thing. They go, so something is up. And so then the scene sort of fades to black as we are taken outside, and there is rain and thunder, and as a crack of lightning sort of illuminates the sky, we see this small figure kind of huddled up against a building under the eaves, looking at these merchants that seem to be making their way from the tavern in the town, the Golden Dragon, to presumably back to their cart. This is Merrick, and Merrick had been sort of following these guys, realizing that they had done pretty well with the loaded dice that he had sort of slipped into their pockets unnoticeably so that they would win a lot of coin, right? And now they're heading back to stash their coin because, of course, they can't trust the people of this village. And Merrick, as you're watching these guys preparing to follow them and hopefully cut their purse as they're walking, all of a sudden, as another bolt of lightning cracks the sky and the thunder erupts around you, it's almost as if it's this concussive force, and the light is just blinding. And when your vision starts to return, the vision isn't of the street and the rain and whatever. It is of this it's this hazy, murky, almost like you're underwater kind of thing, but it's not quite water. And you're looking through the smoke. You can sort of see this stone on the ground, and on the ground ahead of you, maybe about 20 paces, is this it's this circle, glowing circle, like red, and there's maybe runes or some kind of like red illumination coming from the floor, and you can't quite make it out. But there's two things that you find absolutely clear. One is that there seem to be these shadowy shapes forming a circle or around this pattern. There seems to be some sort of shadowy shape in the middle of it as well. But you also notice that there seem to be a lot of wealth and riches, artifacts and coins, gems, silver cups. There's a lot of wealth in this area, and that particularly catches your eye. But the other thing that you sense more than anything else is that there is someone here that that's familiar to you in some way. You can't place it. You don't quite know who it is, but this place feels extremely wrong, extremely scary, right? Especially to a young boy like yourself. This feels like the worst danger you've been in, even worse than running from the guards or the alderman, the constable in the town, and even worse than the beating you took that one time when you weren't quite successful at ripping off the woodcutter and his gang, and they beat you to within an inch of your life. That was scary. This is like terrifying, but you can't tell why. The only thing you know is that somebody here that you love or that you depend on or that you trust seems to be possibly in danger. And so as you kind of you're trying to make sense of this whole thing, you feel almost as if your feet are backing up. You're trying to get out of this place. This is terrifying. And as you do so, your feet shuffle along the floor, and to your ears, it sounds like a giant walking through here, right? And which you're normally very, very quiet. And so you're like, oh. And as this happens, and as this new wave of fear comes over, your worst fears are sort of realized, in the sense that all of these shadowy figures seem to like look at you, and there's these glowing, they look like eyes, these glowing red eyes, and they're all piercing into you, and you can feel almost as if something is trying to compel you to stop moving backwards. But the last thing that you hear that kind of breaks this terrible scene, this terrible sort of scene, is screaming. And at first you can't tell where it's coming from, and then you realize that it's coming from you. You're screaming in terror and fear. And as you do that, the last thing that happens is you feel this sensation of you falling backwards, and then almost as if you plunge into water. And as that happens, your vision kind of changes and clears, and you realize that you're outside in the village again where you were. You've kind of stumbled and fallen against the wall of the church of light and into this puddle. And these guards are looking back at you like, "Oi, boy, what you screaming about? You all right?"
I'm fine. I'm fine. And he would get up and try to like shake himself off, and he would see if he still sees the merchants. But then he would look at the church as well, knowing Brother Dab's in there, and he's probably just scared out of his mind about what he just saw.
Yeah.
Bad omens. This can't be good.
And they're just like, "He looks too young to be in the drink, but I don't know. The people of this town are strange." They're like, "Listen, kid, go home to wherever you're from. Sleep it off. You shouldn't be hitting the mead. You're too young."
There were shadows everywhere. I swear it. They were all over. They were looking at me with red eyes, and they just disappeared.
And they start to chuckle, and they're like, all right. And they just walk on, like they're going back to their thing. You're a little bit like soaked at this point. You fell back into it's pouring rain, right? And you fell into a puddle, which didn't help. You probably had some kind of cloak or something on that was oiled that kind of protected you from the most of the rain, but your trousers at this point are soaked through. And it's the strange thing is, as you're watching these guys walk away, you hear the door to the church open, and you actually see Father Francis, who I mean, everybody in the town knows Father Francis, right? He opens the door and he kind of peeks his head out, and he sees you there, and he says, young Merrick, I heard screaming. Is everything all right with you tonight?
There were shadows everywhere. They tried to get me. I got scared and I fell.
And Brother Deb, you would hear this as well. So I'll give you a moment if you want to say anything or respond.
All right. So as Father Francis came out and said that, and I hear Merrick, I kind of like, I don't push Francis out of the way, but I kind of like walk past. Merrick, is that you?
Brother Dab, yes. I'm sorry I'm here late. I know I shouldn't be.
I
was out on a stroll.
Yeah. I look up at the sky. I see it like it's pouring rain, right?
Yeah.
So he looks up. What are you doing out in this rain? You're out for a walk? It's pouring out.
I was trying to find stuff to, help maybe with my brother, Finn.
Dab gets a kind of a big smile. He knows, well, Father, if it's okay, let him in. Get him out of the rain.
Of course. Yes, young Merrick, please, come in. Follow me. And Father Francis might be one of the few people in town that knows sort of your special skill set, right? But he hasn't really given you a hard time about it. He understands. And actually, he's been one of the few that have tried, everything they can to help your brother. But for whatever reason, it seems that the ailment or illness or curse or whatever that's been placed upon your brother has not been able to be cured by the ministrations of the church. And so he understands the desperation, and he sort of he's taking care of you as best he can. Doing as much as he can. So he brings you in. He says, yes. And he says, Merrick, if you will, come with me. I have some business to discuss with Brother Dab. But after that is completed, I will be sure to get you some food and some dry clothes, and you can spend the night here if you must. I would hate for you to go back home in this infernal weather.
I'll take some of that mutton if you still have it. I'll stay.
As Father Francis says, like the infernal weather, at the word infernal, you see Brother Dab kind of does like a nasty twitch as that word comes out. And
I think maybe Father Francis would see that or recognize that. And whatever he was going to say, kind of he cut off, and he says, "Of course, boy, of course. Come on, come to my office." And so, as you guys sort of make your way into his office, this building, this part of the church, it's a little bit nicer than the rest. Most of the priests, while not having taken a vow of poverty, this is not a wealthy church by any means, right? It's a small church in a small village. But obviously Father Francis is from elsewhere and he's old. So he's seen a lot. He's been a lot of places and he's accumulated things throughout his journeys. Some being very valuable items that have been given to him, or really given to the church, of course, because of the good works that he's done. And so, people always sort of go, "Oh, woo, that was crazy." My computer just froze on me for a minute there. That was weird. Yeah.
It's the shadows. They're back.
Yeah, they're coming for me. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen again. But so people tend to gawk at this place when they see it. I mean, he doesn't usually like to let the townsfolk in here just because it kind of can give off a bad impression, especially if they're a little poor. But as you kind of sit down in a ornately carved chair with a plush cushion and whatever, and he kind of goes behind the large sort of desk that he has. You can see, though, in stark contrast to this opulent office, he has this little like cot, just a very simple plain cot kind of over in the side. He doesn't take up his own quarters, his own residence per se. He sleeps in his office, almost as a penance for all this opulence that he has. And so he sits behind his desk and he kind of steeples his hands. He says, "Brother Dab, as you know, Brother Talvin is missing, but what you don't know is why. 2 days ago, we heard some troubling rumors that a very important book in the library down below was stolen or missing. We're not quite sure. Some of the priests have also are unaccounted for at this time, and I sent Brother Talvin down to see if he could make head or tail of these rumors. If this book has truly been stolen, I fear for the safety of this town and for the safety of all the souls around here." And he looks at you, and then he kind of looks at Merrick, and he's weighing his words as to whether he should say this out loud or not. But then he thinks about it, and he's like, he kind of nods his head, and he's like, "Have you heard, my son, of the Book of the Dead?"
Merrick is like, "Huh."
Would Dab know about that, or?
Maybe. Well, probably not, because it seems as though Brother Dab is maybe only a cleric kind of out of penance and maybe hasn't studied all the religious texts. So not necessarily. And so when he kind of sees the look of fear on Merrick's face, maybe having heard Book of the Dead, who knows what that is, but it sounds scary, right? And Brother Dab being like, no, he says, "As you guys have probably heard, the history of this place suggests that long ago there was a wizard that accompanied this place, that this was his tower or his sanctum, and it was rumored that this wizard, like many wizards, indulged in strange experiments. And as wizards are wont to do, he wrote down many of his experiments. It was rumored that he could command the forces that only the gods had been able to command, thus raising the dead or stopping death, or the rumors aren't clear. And as far as we knew, they were only stories. But a few years ago, as we were excavating further down And exploring more of the library, we did find a secret chamber. As we entered the chamber, we discovered a book on a dais, displayed very much in a ritualistic manner that did not concern us necessarily, as this was fairly common for wizards and holy men of the time. But as we entered this chamber, we realized that this was no ordinary chamber, and the first priests that tried to remove this book came out mad, completely mad. For a while, we sealed everything off, but we did have some of the arcanists from the town go down to see if they could perhaps make heads or tails of this. And in fact, they were able to enter this and not escape mad. However, one of the elders of the arcane arts was frightened beyond anything I had ever seen. He said that if there were a way to safely destroy that book, that it should be done, but unfortunately there was not, and he recommended that we seal off that chamber. And in my vanity and my sin, I did not listen to him. We tried again, and we were able to decipher a few things. The title of this book, known as the Book of the Dead, written in an ancient arcane language. And we realized that its contents were most likely spells and rituals, piecing together some of the other texts written in the common speech from this library. We realized that this wizard had been seeking to bring back some kind of incredibly powerful evil force that he believed would grant him incalculable power. Now, wizards, they tend to be mad. They tend to believe strange things, not in keeping with the gods and the holy orders, but we never did take that stuff lightly. However, this and what we had seen did bode ill, and so we had set a guard upon the door, and we had been ever vigilant to watch. As the years went by and nothing happened, well, we became less vigilant, and unfortunately, it seems, as we went to check on the book once again, we discovered it missing. Now, Brother Talvin has gone in search of it, and he has not returned.
Talvin went in search of this book?
Yes, he is the most holy of our order and the most capable of finding this and recovering it, retrieving it. But he has not returned, and it is not like him to wait this long without checking in. I fear the worst.
Merrick is still on his chair.
And for a moment, Father Francis doesn't quite seem to be reacting to you. He's got a very intense look at Brother Dab, just trying to gauge his reaction.
Dab kind of is just his body language. It's almost like his whole body kind of like sighed. Like it just looked like the entire weight of this town was just like put on his shoulders right now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really say anything. Just his head hangs down, his shoulders kind of hunched. What the hell did you get yourself into, Tell? Boy, this is going to be one hell of a story.
And again, with that intense look, Father Francis looks at you and says, "So you will descend below the church to search out our lost brother?"
Yes, I would gladly go anywhere to find Tal.
And then you see he also gives this big sigh of relief, and he gets up and he kind of walks over to, behind his desk. And there's this, like a table or whatever, and it's adorned with some silverware and plate and some food. And he picks it up and he brings it over. And Merrick, he kind of puts it down in front of you, and he says, "I fear, my lad, the mutton is cold, but the bread is good. The wine is better, and the mutton will do to soothe an aching belly if you'll have it."
Oh, wow, wine. My dad never lets me have this stuff.
And it's like, I had heard the small folk were fond of wine, but perhaps those were just stories.
Yeah, we're too poor for it.
And he looks sad, and he says, "Well, don't hesitate to indulge. I think it would do you good, especially on a day like today. I do wonder, it seems as though you have a particular set of skills in delving into the places that are dark and unseen, doing so quietly and, well, getting out. Would you perhaps be willing to accompany Brother Dab down below the temple just to see what you can see? Maybe act as a scout. Watch out for him and try to keep him safe."
I mean, is it dangerous? I don't want to die. I don't want to be in the Book of the Dead.
It's like, I don't think the Book of the Dead works that way, my son. But he says, "Yes, I won't lie. It is dangerous. However," and then he reaches into his desk and he pulls out a pretty big coin purse and he puts it down and he says, "I know your family's struggling. I've done what I can to help heal your brother, but it seems everything we've tried so far has been in vain. I know this won't ease that, but perhaps it will help even just a little bit. If you would accompany Brother Dab, this purse is yours."
And Merrick looks and he says, his eyes get real big. Oh, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to save Finn. All right, Brother Dab, you have my bow.
And he says,
Dab looks down. He's got like a sling on his hip. That's he shrugs.
"Yeah."
But Dab will look up and says, "Father, what can we expect down here? It's so dangerous."
He looks to you and he says, "Well, that's just it. It shouldn't be dangerous. It hasn't been dangerous. But I haven't been able to go down, and I just fear the worst. The Book of the Dead in and of itself is dangerous if someone can decipher its meaning and enact the rituals within it, but no one has ever shown to have done that or even seemed to have any interest in it at all. In fact, no one should have even known about it, except our order. That's why it's most disturbing that it is now missing."
Do you know of any, I guess, a back door that would have led into this place? Like, is this church? Is this the only way to get there? Actually, has Dab ever been down there? I guess that's no.
Nope.
Okay, so he knows nothing about it.
No. He says, "Perhaps, but it's unlikely. You see, the church does lead to this room does lead down to to the catacombs below, where our venerated dead are held, and that there a passage leads to the churchyard. But beyond that, I do not know."
All right, then.
You always took care of me, Francis. I'm ready to go wherever you send me.
Yeah, you see, Dab has kind of almost not outright fright, but definitely some of the colors drain out of his face, and it's like, all right, so let's go.
And he says, "I will not send you in there unprotected, however. And so he reaches into this like drawer or whatever in his desk, and he pulls out 2 vials, glass vials with some kind of, clear liquid in them. And you see him do this sort of blessing over them, right? And then the contents in these vials seems to kind of almost glow with this like golden spark for a minute. And then it goes out, and then he puts one in front of you, Merrick, and one in front of you, Brother Dab, and he says, should you find yourselves in any kind of trouble, these will heal your wounds and your ailments. It's not much, but it'll do. Effectively, this is a potion of healing, so it would give you 1d6 plus 1 hit points if you drink it.
If you have 1 hit point.
Well, it would restore your 1 hit point then. So you're guaranteed to be back up to full. And so he also looks to you, Brother Dab, and he says, have you acquired a holy symbol yet?
I do not at the moment. I know there's been talk of one. He looks a little ashamed, like I didn't get around to it yet.
And he says, your faith will be tested in the depths below. But if you are true of faith, I'm sure you will prove yourself worthy. And then he actually takes the sort of the holy symbol medallion that he has on this gold chain off of his neck. And he says, here, if you would take this,
Father,
you need it more than I
can't take this. This is.
And he says,
no, of the church.
No, you must take this. And he puts it in front of you, and then he looks down in shame and he says, I am not worthy of this holy symbol, as I am too frightened and too feeble to do what is necessary to protect my church in this village. But you volunteer without a second thought. No, you are worthy of this. Please take it.
So Dad will grab it. He just kind of looks like he's going to say something. He goes like, but.
Oh, wow.
All right.
We're getting equipped to be adventurers. Do I get one too?
And he looks to you and he says, unfortunately, young Merrick, this is the only holy symbol I have. But if you are to make it out of here and you find our missing priest, well, I guarantee you that you will want for nothing in this village.
What about that nice shiny goblet? That gold one?
And he actually laughs and he's like, sure, if you come back with Brother Talvin, you can have the gold goblet. I sure have no need of it.
At this point, Dab slowly will kind of put on. It's on like a gold chain, you said, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a gold and ornate symbol of Iran on a thick gold chain. So it's probably worth quite a bit.
All right. So he slowly kind of puts it on, and as it rests down, you see this kind of stands up a little straighter. Shoulders maybe not quite as like hunched over. And then he kind of like takes that staff that he's kind of been leaning on. He kind of like stands up straight and kind of like doesn't like stomp it down, but kind of like taps it down and kind of stands up straight with it.
Awesome. And at this point, you kind of get the sense that things are wrapping up, and Father Francis has essentially humbled himself in front of you guys. My camera, saying, something along the lines of, I'm not worthy of this. And so, yeah, so he's like, well, if you can, try to get some sleep. And he looks to you, Merrick, and he says, should you wish to remain the rest of the night in the temple, we will make quarters available for you. We don't have much, but we have a cot.
Talvin's bed is open.
Indeed it is. I suppose he won't miss it.
Maybe I'll find some clues there. I'll sleep in his bed.
Very good. Brother Dab can show you the way. I would request if you would be so kind to set out first thing in the morning. Of course, have any provisions that you must, but don't delay. Don't go down at night,
What
though.
about breakfast?
Yes, of course. Have a breakfast. You must be hale and hearty when you go down there. I fear the worst.
Yeah, snacksies too.
11sies. Go down before second breakfast, and certainly before 11sies. But I promise you a feast will be waiting upon your return.
All right, so Brother Dab will kind of look, says, very well, first thing in the morning, we'll, I can't believe I'm going to say this, we'll go down to the Forbidden Library to possibly find the Book of the Dead. Yeah, sleep will be good tonight.
Yeah, and so my question to you would be, do you think either of you will sleep anymore tonight?
I would say Dab, no way.
Yeah.
Between anytime he lays down, he's constantly seeing that thing of Rosa just looking at him with like the shadow eyes, and then the dread of Tal missing, and now there's a Book of the Dead right underneath us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe just from exhaustion, he might doze off some, but he's not.
Yeah. Fitful rest at best. Yeah. Okay. And Merrick, you would end up in Brother Talvin's room. Yeah.
I think like a young halfling, like initially, like his memory, I would imagine is very like short. Like he was really scared earlier, but now he's like, oh wow, I'm gonna be an adventurer. I can't wait. And maybe it's kind of like the feeling before Christmas where you're excited, anxious, and you don't go to bed. But he might get a little bit of sleep, but
Sure. And did you want to search the room and kind of see if there's any clues like you mentioned before?
Yeah, he would search the room for some clues.
Go ahead and roll a d6 for me and let me know what you get.
All right, a 2.
Okay, so you kind of search around the room and you don't find anything that seems to give you any more insight into what's going on. You do find Brother Talvin's diary, and if you read through it, a lot of it is just kind of the normal, am I worthy of this post? I fear for Father Francis. He seems ill. He seems uneasy, blah, blah, blah. But then there is a passage, it seems the most recent passage saying, Father Francis has requested that I go below to search out the rumors that the unholy book is missing. And he says, I must admit, my fear is overcoming me. I don't know if I can do this. But apart from that, you really don't find anything. The only other thing that you find is what looks to be sort of an old, broken, it looks like a holy symbol that was probably like maybe an older one. It was made of wood. It's kind of cracked in half. It seems like it may have been his starter holy symbol. And obviously, he's gotten a little bit more respect and whatever. But it's kind of over with some things, some kind of holy texts and whatever.
I would pick up the holy symbol and the journal. I'd probably give the journal to Brother Dab because the kid would be like, whatever. This is, And I would kind of try to put the holy symbol together and like wear it.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you would immediately assess that it's of absolutely no value. But you could, maybe sort of, you kind of fiddle with it and shit.
More look like Brother Dab,
Yeah, you find some like string in the room and kind of piecemeal it together. Sure. So, as you guys kind of await the break of day, right? And as the sun is rising and, just those rays of light just start to peek through the windows, Brother Deb, it might not be lost on you that being in the temple of the Lord of Light, or the holy church of the Lord of Light, right? This is sort of a beautiful and serene kind of moment. And for a moment, it does fill you with a little bit of hope that, okay, now the light is shining on us. I don't know if I believe in all of this mumbo jumbo, but I'm going to try to take this as a sign because I need something, right?
Actually, yeah. So
Yeah.
Dab, I think, while not sleeping too well, at some point kind of more or less wakes up, kind of sits and sees the sun. One's come beaming at him right on his chest where the holy symbol would have been. One kind of beams there. Another ray of light is beaming on the holy symbol in the desk next to it, and it's this glint. He kind of like looks at it. Aran, I know I've not been much of a devout follower. I know I barely ever prayed. But today, I might need some help. We're going down to this place, the Forbidden Library. I don't know what's down there. Talvin is missing. And Dab kind of like starts looking like, not sure what else to say, but I may need your backing on this one.
And you hear nothing. You get no signs, no nothing in return. But the sun continues to rise, and that's something. And I suppose the next thing that you would notice would be the smell of the sort of the porridge or the gruel that the priests and the monks cook every day. And it's not particularly delicious food, but it is hearty, and it fills you with renewed vigor if you eat it. You tended to seek out some sort of like spices like cinnamon or something to kind of put in it. The priests aren't allowed to do that normally, but I think maybe, being new to the temple, Brother Talvin actually told you where you could find some. And, he was like, just don't let the Father catch you. So this porridge is sort of not great, but the people have ways of making it palatable. Yeah, and so it kind of, as you pack up your stuff, you head in to sort of the dining area. And Merrick, what would you do as you're also sort of either awakened or at least become aware of the sunlight coming through the window?
He's like, oh, I can see my breakfast. I need to be like, eating and trying to find stuff to eat, getting ready. He wouldn't think too much of the religious aspect of it.
Yep.
So he would just kind of be going about his day excitedly, getting ready to go.
Sure. So he would kind of actually, in fact, there would be a knock on the door shortly after you kind of are ready to go. And it's one of the monks. And he says, young Master Highhill, if you'll accompany me, your breakfast is ready.
Oh, boy. I hope there's some eggs.
And he doesn't say anything in return. He just motions for you to follow. And as you make your way into the dining hall, you see all of the monks and the priests are sitting there. Some are praying over their meals, whatever. But really, all you hear is the clanking of the clanking, right? The wooden spoons on these wooden bowls, and sort of the slurping of the porridge into their mouth. Nobody's talking. It seems to be this sort of quiet reflection. But you do see Brother Dab kind of sitting by himself, you may be slowly eating this porridge. And if you decide to sit with him, wherever you sit, the monk will pass you this bowl of this just kind of gray, lumpy looking porridge that doesn't look particularly appetizing.
Oh, man. And I would look around, and is anybody else eating like anything better, or is everybody just eating porridge?
No, everybody's eating porridge. And as you say, oh, man, it's almost piercing, the silence, right? And everybody kind of looks up at you. And And you can tell because you've seen the stern look of elders plenty of times. These guys are trying not to show anything on their faces, but they're like, young man. Yeah.
I always see that and be like, this is great. Right. Yeah. You know.
Right. Misinterpreting the reason for their stern looks. You're like, oh, this is good. I love this porridge.
Yeah.
And they kind of ignore you. But as you kind of are eating, Brother Dab, somebody walks up to you, one of the monks, and he just silently hands you a little parchment. And as you open it, it just basically is a letter from Father Francis saying, you know, make your way to, and it kind of is a little like hand-drawn map showing where you can go to access the library. It's just, you know, you go down the main cloister and kind of off into this little room, and then there's like a doorway hidden behind a tapestry. And so he says, you know, the door will be open, you know, no need for a key or anything. Head down. And but he says return before nightfall. And with the parchment, he says when you get there will be a little hourglass for you. And he says when the hourglass runs out, that is effectively you know, sundown. So it says come back before night. I don't want to take the chance of, you know, you getting lost in the darkness or whatever. So
okay. So after reading that, Dad would kind of just slowly slide the parchment over towards Merrick and kind of just does this with him. Slides the parchment over.
I'm ready. I got you, Brother Bab. We're going to be heroes.
As you say, they see Dad just kind of like look around.
Yeah. He's panicking. It's like, what?
As you say, we're going to be heroes. It's like, All right, so I mean, Dab's not eating too well. You see, he's kind of more staring off. He kind of every so often takes a slurp of the porridge, and I don't know, the 5 more minutes probably says, like, looks around. All right, let's get this done.
Okay.
So how
Yep.
I guess he would just go over, maybe pack like some bread. Any type of dry goods, enough for like 1 or 2 days. Just kind of pack that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that you could pack some, you know, loaves of bread and whatever. I mean, the expectation is that you're not going to be down there for more than 8 hours or whatever. So, you know, but I mean, in fall it does get darker a little bit earlier, so we'll see. But you may never return. So you make it down this hallway and to the tapestry that you were told to look for, right? And it's, you know, one of the typical sort of religious scenes of this great pious monk, you know, holding his holy symbol aloft, and, you know, a great sunbeam kind of bursting out of it, destroying this, you know, enemy host ahead of him or whatever. And it's this great scene of battle or whatever. And you know that behind this tapestry is a sort of piece in the wall that is actually a door. So you guys obviously don't have to roll for this because you were told where it was, but this is a secret door. So what would you like to do? Would you like to try to open this door and head down into the depths below?
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to go first?
So if the door opens, is it pitch black?
Well, so as you so there was a little hourglass there as you expected when you got there, right? And you can just pick that up or whatever. But as you kind of put your hand on the door, it's not like a knob. There's like almost like a little stone lever. And as you kind of put your hand on the lever, the stone itself feels a little bit warm to the touch, which is odd because again, this is a sort of a large church. It's cold outside. It shouldn't be this warm.
He probably would have taken his hand off. Like as soon as it felt warm, probably would have taken his hand off right away. Like,
yeah, not hot to the touch by any means, but it's unnaturally warm. Yeah.
So
and Merrick, you probably would have noticed that as he kind of
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You see him go like that.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the door?
He just points to the lever like it's warm.
Oh, that's an old trick to keep people away. And I'd like to go up and see if I know this as like a little trap or something. Like old Nanny used to put her oven near the door to stop me from stealing pies. You know?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. So you can use your find and remove trap skill if you want. So actually, if you want, I'll let you roll it. So you go ahead and roll your percentile dice. You're looking for below 20.
Oh, nope. 32.
Okay. So you definitely don't sense any traps or anything. But you also don't feel any warmth on this door. You don't know what he's talking about.
This isn't warm. This is just regular. Brother Deb, are you sure it was hot?
Oh, you're muted.
Okay, so yeah, you see Dab just kind of like look at the handle and see his eyes kind of like widen. He rubs his eyes and then he puts his hand back on the lever. Is it?
It's definitely warm to the touch. Yeah.
You didn't feel it?
Maybe you didn't get enough sleep last night.
He just goes, probably right. And then I'll let's see. Then I'll pull the lever.
Open the door. All right. So as you open the door, it kind of with an audible, of this like old stone that's not open very much, kind of creaking back, and the door sort of recesses in, and then and the first thing that you notice is this. It almost feels as if like behind you was like a fire or something, and this like just cloud of heat comes out and kind of hits you. You also start to feel this very sort of ominous feeling, but you can see there are, at least in this, it looks like there's like sort of an antechamber, and there is a torch lit. However, it seems to be dwindling down to the last bits of it. So you suspect that torch probably won't last very long. You're still on the hallway side, though. Do you want to walk through the door, through the chamber?
Yes, I will. Actually, I have a lantern. So as I get in, I want to take out the lantern, drip some oil in there.
Okay.
And if possible, use that dwindling torchlight to kind of like light the lantern.
Sure.
And then I'll kind of the classic movie trick, like hold it up, kind of like above his eyes forward, just like looking into the darkness.
Yep.
And if possible, if I can, I don't know if you can, like clip it to a belt or something.
The lantern?
Yeah.
Sure. In fact, if you want to, you could probably sort of rig it up on like the top of your staff if you wanted to kind of hold it out in front of you. Or yes, you could potentially sort of rig it up to like your clothes or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'll hold it now, but I would like to.
Yeah.
If need be, I would like to just kind of, well, if something like that happens, I might just drop it. But
right.
So I'll hold it for now, but if need be, I'd like to like clip it down.
Sure. And Merrick, do you follow right behind Brother Dab?
Yeah, I follow right behind him, and I'm like hooking up. I see him put his lantern on. I pull mine out, and I like hook it up, but I have like a little belt, and I attach it to my chest like a Green Lantern almost, and I'm walking with this little hooded thing going on.
Sure. And as you complete that and you kind of look back up, you feel this absolute utter sense of, the best way you can describe it is oppression. And I need you to make a save, both of you make a save versus spells for me, please.
Okay, we just roll a D20?
D20, yep. So for the thief, I believe you need a 15 or better, but if you're a halfling, you may have an adjustment to that.
I failed.
You both failed. Oh boy, this is starting off great. So
it's one of the hardest saves.
yeah, well, it's tough. The door closes by itself behind you. The torch does go out, but fortunately you have your lantern light, and so you're not immediately plunged into darkness, but you feel this just overwhelming sense of oppression and foreboding. You can hear almost this, maybe it's like a chanting or a cackling, or you can't even quite tell, but it's these strange sounds coming all around you. You're very disoriented, and you find it incredibly hard to do anything. And so mechanically, you can only move at half your normal movement speed. And as of right now, you're going to have a -1 penalty to all of your rolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Dad, we're going to die. Yeah. We're going to end up in the Book of the Dead.
And as I was going on, Brother Tab would probably call him Brother Tab. Brother Dab.
Brother Dab, yep.
Would grab that holy symbol, and he probably just clutches it so tight. You see this hand like just turns white as this finally, I guess at some point kind of regained his composure, but that whole time he just kind of stands there, probably starting to twitch a little. His hand just like turns white from clutching this, and then finally just kind of like lets it go, and you see kind of like
yep.
Looks down. You okay? He's looking down the Merrick.
You're gonna keep me safe, right, Brother Dab? I don't want to die.
We're okay. We're okay right now. All right. Well, see, he looks back, sees the doors closed. One way to go.
Yeah, and you're literally like in this little antechamber. You would see probably maybe 5 to 10 feet in front of you is a little portal that would enter into what you presume to be the library, proper.
All right, so
we'll proceed on.
Word, yeah. Cautious. Well, I'm not fast in general, but
yep. Okay, so here's what happens. You enter into this room. It's much bigger than you would have expected. You actually did go down as you were traveling through the door down into this, sort of corridor. And before you now is displayed this pretty big room, probably anywhere about a 50 to 100 foot room, just massive, with on either side just these racks and racks of books and scrolls, and there's numerous tables and desks and benches with all kinds of paraphernalia. This looks like it's not only a library, but perhaps a place where people would scribe scrolls, where they might do alchemy, where they would do all kinds of stuff. But And again, it's very hard to sort of concentrate on any one thing, because you're feeling almost like you have it's everything within your willpower to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and maintain your sanity. So, but you do notice two things. One, you notice a body on the floor near the far end. Kind of to the, like if you were to come into the room and you were to look sort of straight into your left, there seems to be like another sort of little alcove or something off that way, and there seems to be a body on the floor. And then over kind of on the other side, rummaging through something on the table, is a person, a humanoid figure as far as you can tell. It seems to be roughly the size of a normal human man, and wearing some kind of cloak. Doesn't seem to have noticed you yet.
I'm gonna hide.
Who's gonna hide?
I am, Merrick.
Okay. So there are plenty of places to hide in here normally, or if you wanted to try to hide in plain sight, you can do that. But you're very, very, very good at hiding. So, so you kind of go and you hide. Are you hiding with the intent to still be able to see this figure, or you just want to hide?
Yeah. I want to see it. I'm scared.
Okay.
So I wanna,
okay.
Hide.
All right, for sure. And so, all right, let's see. Yeah. So great. You're kind of hidden, pop down, kind of looking over the, just barely with your nose over the top of like, one of these little benches or something. But the bench is like below the table. So you're kind of looking between the table. Yeah. And you can kind of see just like his, the middle part of him, right from his like waist up to like his lower chest. But yeah. And Brother Dab. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say like that. I imagine there's like a little table and little books, and I'm hiding in there and peeking out.
Yeah.
I would have made sure to let Brother Dab know where I went, though. I would have like tapped him and jumped into a book.
Yep.
But since Dab is a priest, doesn't know what's going on, not an actual gamer. Dab kind of holds up the lantern higher, kind of squints, and like, Tal, is that you?
Oh, why'd you gotta do that?
Yeah.
All right, so
I know I'm not supposed to, but
no, it's all good.
That's what Dad would do.
Yeah, and so as you do that, you see the figure that was rummaging around kind of jump, right? And he looks up, and he looks over to you, and he's got like a hood on, so you can't see its face or whatever. But it looks to you and says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
And you see, at that point, Dab kind of lowers the lantern and clips it, and you see him, he grabs a staff, says, it's the Church of Iran. I'm an acolyte here. Who are you?
And he says, well, you picked the wrong place to be. Get out of here now, or you're going to get a blade between your ribs. And you can see he's holding up this dagger.
Boy.
Shoot, America's scared as hell right now.
So
Dab. So he's seeing this dude with like a quarterstaff looking all scared, and he can only see one dude. So,
Yeah, so you see Dab, he grips the quarterstaff tighter. He probably takes one step back. And he slowly, if he can, slowly kind of one hand go into the sling on his belt. Pretty much the end result is I want to step back slowly and then just take the sling out, whip it around, and try and knock him in the head with it.
Okay.
Oh, shit, it's going down like that.
So why don't we do this? Let's roll initiative. So we're going to roll a D6. However, Merrick, he hasn't seen you, so you have surprise. So you can actually act first if you want to on a surprise round. But I still want you guys to all roll initiative, if you will.
No, I did see that he had a sword out, right?
Well, a dagger, yes, you did.
Okay, so then he would do that.
Yeah. So yeah, just a straight D6 roll for me.
Ooh, 6.
All right, Merrick, Dab, and the cultist. So the cultist is slow. So Merrick, you're going to get your surprise action first. And then because you're exceptionally dexterous, you will also get to act first in the combat round that follows. So you can choose what you wish to do. This room you're pretty far away from him. So you're probably around 40 feet away at this point.
Okay.
Because the room is about 50 feet wide, deep, and about 100 feet wide. But with the bookshelves and all that, it's not actually 100 feet.
Perfect. So I should get a +1 since I'm within 50 feet.
Yep.
For my short bow, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
And then it says, so for sneak attack, it says +4 attack bonus, and then does double damage if I hit. So I imagine I add 4 to my roll, correct?
So, you know what? I like using sneak attack for melee in this case. So yes. Yep. Go ahead and you'll add +4 to your attack roll.
Right? Because I'm shooting my bow.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. So you'll add effectively +5 on top of whatever your normal attack bonus was, and dexterity if you have it.
There's short range too with the bow.
Yeah, I think he accounted for that with the +1. Yep. So,
Got it. Okay. 13 plus 5 plus 2, so 20.
yeah, you hit him. Go ahead and roll your damage and then double it.
D6. Do you want me to roll twice or just double it?
No, just go ahead and double it.
All right, 8 total.
Whew. All right. So, yeah, you bury an arrow right into this guy. If you want to sort of describe the kill shot and how the whole scene looks.
I'm like, freaking out. I'm hearing, I think I'm going to end up in the Book of the Dead. I see Brother Dab grabbing his sling, and that guy's threatening. So I have my bow and arrow, and I'm like shaking. And I kind of close my eyes almost because I don't want to kill somebody, but I shoot it, and it just, hits him, I imagine, in the throat. And he's like,
yeah, exactly. And as that kind of happens, he staggers back and his hood falls back. And you see, and Brother Dab, you would see, maybe not Merrick because he might have kind of had his eyes closed, but Brother Dab, you would absolutely see those like black eyes, almost like the shadows behind his eyes as he's like opens his eyes wide, and then he falls to the ground, and this like black smoke kind of like raises out of his mouth.
So as Dad was going for the sling, the bow goes and arrow right in the face. I would have like not gone prone, but I probably would have gone like a crouch position, just more what the hell like happened.
Yeah.
And then when I see roll down the eyes and the smoke rise, then a low voice, Eric, was that you?
I didn't mean to. I swear, I just wanted to hurt him. I didn't mean to kill him.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't think he would have had that same composure towards us. So I will cautiously approach, but once again, I'll hold the lantern out in front of me so I can, before I get up next to the body, see it.
Mm-hmm. Before you do that, Merrick, go ahead and make another save versus spells for me, but you can add +2 to your roll. Perfect. On this one.
15.
All right, and I believe that's enough, right, to succeed. Yes, it is. Yep, Thief. Oh, well, no, you have a -1, though, because so it's a 15.
Oh, I
have
didn't
a -1 because of all that?
I didn't
you said a +2.
Oh, I didn't add the +4 versus. I have +4 versus spells. I rolled.
Okay. You rolled a 13 straight up. Okay, yeah. So you're good. So actually what happens then in this case is, even though you didn't want to kill this guy, there were these, as you killed him, right, there were these voices in your head saying, you're a murderer, you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn, But then as he dies, and Merrick and Brother Dab is like, it's okay, you kind of realize the gravity of the situation here, and you did what you had to do. And you're actually emboldened by that for a little bit. Not happy that you killed the guy, but you're thinking, that was kind of easy. Maybe we can get through this after all. So the effect of this sort of oppression lifts as you're not exactly jovial, but your spirits lift a little bit. So you're not subject to the half movement and the -1 to all rolls anymore. Yep.
Take that, bad guy.
Exactly. And so I'm sorry, Brother Dab, what was it that you were doing at this point?
He's gonna, after kind of getting verification that it was Merrick that did this, he would slowly approach the body, but having the lantern out as far as he could forward. So before he's up next to the body, he wants to get a good visual on it before.
This guy that you just killed, or the other body that was prone on the other side?
Which one's closer?
I guess if you were just sort of standing in the middle of the room, they're about equal distance apart from you. Yeah, that's about right.
That an accurate map I've been drawing, kind of?
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. Definitely.
Probably the one that just got killed then, yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So as you kind of approach this body,
the closer I get, the lantern starts to shake some.
Yeah, exactly. You realize that this was one of the men from the town. His name was Osmond, and you would have known him. He was maybe like a woodcutter, but you see now that his eyes are just that white, that sort of opaque white of death. Blood kind of streaming out of his chest. His heart has stopped beating at this point, so it's not gushing out anymore. It's just kind of whatever. And but you see this strange like tattoo that you didn't notice before on his right below his neck, right on his upper chest, where sort of his tunic was ripped as the arrow kind of went through, and he kind of scrabbled at it like in his dying, his death throes or whatever. And it just looks like some kind of runic symbol. You can't quite tell what it is, but you knew this man, right? He was part of the town. He was one of the villagers. And the dagger that he was holding is just a plain regular dagger, something that anybody in town would probably carry. But it does seem to have some kind of sheen or shine on the blade that you're not quite sure just from a quick glance what that might be.
Okay. I guess the first thing is he walks up, the body comes to light, and then Osmond? And then Tal will kind of quickly run up and verify, yes, it is Osmond.
Is that your friend?
Friend, no, but he's from the town. He's the guy we get our wood from for the fires.
And you would know who that is, Merrick. That's Osmond, the woodcutter.
Oh, no. Well, what are we going to do in wintertime when we need wood?
Well, there's multiple woodcutters.
So Dad would just say a quick prayer, probably hold up the symbol, give it a little, like a kiss, and then put his hand on Osmond's forehead, and say another little prayer.
Nice.
It's weird seeing like a town's. He's not a bad guy. It was like, oh, okay, this was a town's person.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I mean, kind of as you stand up from your prayer, like, you're still actually, Caleb, go ahead and make another save versus spells, but you can add a +2 to your roll. So actually add a +1 because you have the -1 normally.
Oh, right. 19 on the die. Yes.
Yep. All right. And so almost as if you feel as you gave this sort of genuine prayer, right? Acting as a representative of the church should, you feel this sort of emboldened sense about you for just a minute anyway, right? As okay, maybe I can get through this. Certainly unease at the fact that this guy was someone in the town, seemed like a pretty good person, but you feel like maybe Iran is going to watch over you. You might get out of this, and so the oppression has also lifted from you. At least temporarily.
All right. Yeah, Dad probably wouldn't loot the body. It's just not even in his mindset right now.
Okay.
So Dad will stand up, starts looking around. And there's the other bodies in like the alcove, right?
Well, not quite. It's near the alcove.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit before the alcove.
So I guess, okay. He would start walking over that way cautiously, carefully.
Yep.
I don't know, scanning like the rest of the room as he does it. And Merrick, cover me with the bow.
I got you, Brother Dab. I'm going to get them if they come after you.
And Brother Dab, as you walk, it's almost as if like, like everything goes into slow motion, right? And you're walking towards this, and like what you're going to see on the floor. You just can sense it, right? And as you get closer and closer, your breathing becomes a little bit harder because there's this fear, like, oh God, this is going to be Talvin, isn't it? And as you get maybe a couple feet away from him, you start to recognize the stocky build and the hair. He's face down on the floor. You're not 100% sure right now, but you're almost certain that this is Talvin. But yeah, he's face down.
All right, so
You don't see any visible wounds, though.
So as it's a sanity check for Dab. So as Dab gets close, and as I'm getting more clues in that it might be, Dab would probably almost stop in his tracks and kind of fall down on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see his breathing like, Tell. He probably just sits there for a good 5 minutes just coming over this panic attack, and then eventually get up and put the lantern down and turn the body over.
Sure. And so as you turn him over, and you're kind of looking at him, you can see ever so faintly his chest is rising and falling. And just to confirm, you kind of put your ear right up to his mouth and or your cheek, and you can feel just the faintest breath. His breathing is very slow. You as a soldier know that like these are the breaths of a person who is dying, but hasn't died yet.
Is it definitely Talvin though? Now that
Yes, absolutely. 100%. You can tell it's Talvin. He's got a
Okay.
nasty bruise on his face. It looks like actually his skull may have been cracked a little bit. There's dried blood, his eyes kind of bulging, and there's a big old bruise, but he's barely breathing, but he is, at least for the moment, still alive, completely unconscious though.
Yeah. So Dab would, as soon as he sees the light, instantly he would take out the potion bottle that Francis gave him earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and without a second thought, just kind of shove it down Talvin's throat, and
Yes.
I don't know, massage the throat, or just make sure he swallows it. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so as you do that, for a moment, nothing happens. Right. And it's enough, 3 heartbeats, 4 heartbeats, 5 heartbeats. Right. And your breath is starting to catch as you're like, oh God, this didn't work. And then you start to feel his breathing regulate a little bit, and you start to see the bruise that was this dark, nasty purple start to fade. Right. Not completely, but for the most part. And Talvin starts and he opens his non-injured eye first, and it's fine. Ray's kind of looking up, and then his other one kind of struggles to open. It's still a little bit swollen, and you can see it's all bloodshot. Just like would be normal for somebody who got hit in the face. But for the most part, he seems okay, and he kind of goes to sit up. He's like, ah, but he's looking at you, and he says, "Deb, what in the 9 hells are you doing down here?"
What happened, friend? I was told you were sent down here to find some book by Francis. Me and him both worried. What? Like, and you see, as he's talking, you see he does look over at that cultist body a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? What's going on?
And he says, why did he send you down here? And then he looks and he says, I don't honestly know. I went into that room. That's where the book was supposed to be held. I went in there. There were a few people in there, and they tried to hit me. I fought back as best I could. I came out here. They followed me. And then he looks, he has this really sad look on his face, and he says, Deb, they're villagers. They're us.
I know. And then Dab looks back at that other body, is like, that's Osmond over there.
Yeah, I had to kill him. I'm sorry. And
for the first time, Talvin realizes that you're there, and he kind of looks at you and he says, Is that the halfling lad?
Yes, Merrick, he's here with me.
And he says, you should get him out of here, Deb. He shouldn't be here.
but I need to save my brother. And Francis offered me a lot of money and the golden goblet.
And he's like, his head goes down and he's just shaking it. And then he looks back up to you, Dab, and he says, all I know is that one and some red-haired woman hit me beside the head, and Rosa has red hair. Now, not saying it's her, but she's got red hair. And because of the dream and everything, that particular detail sticks in your mind.
So as soon as Talvin says red hair, Dad would kind of not like grab him, but like grab his shoulders. Like, was it Rosa?
And he says, I don't know. They were wearing hoods and masks. Like, I just saw a little bit of it outside. I assume it was a woman. But
like,
he's like, there aren't very many redheads in town. I'm sorry, Dad.
What about the book?
Yeah. And he kind of like looks to that door. Says, "Are they still in there?"
He says, I don't know. They knocked me out, and I woke up here. I assume not. If you killed that one, the other one must have gone down below.
Now, when he says down below, I kind of, Dad probably assumed that this was like down below. So there's.
Yeah. And you remember that Francis said that there is some kind of entrance to the crypts below the library. You know, most of the time people would go from the churchyard. There would be an entrance to the underground areas. That was the sort of traditional way. But it makes sense that there would be kind of a secret entrance within the church itself for whatever deeds may need to be done down there.
All right. So I kind of slowly stand up and I look at I just kind of stare off where the entryway to the crypt is. Tal, get out of here. Go back to Francis. And you see him look. I think that guy over there. And I kind of like nod my head towards where Osmond is. He had some type of blade. Grab that.
He says, no, don't touch the blade. He says, thank God you used whatever you used on me. That was poison. That was what was killing me.
He kind of like looks at the bottle like, this Francis gave us this. He said it'd be useful.
It's a healing potion. Thank God he did. You shouldn't have used it on me, though.
They have poison?
Apparently.
It's getting weirder and weirder.
Mm-hmm. And he says, I'm not in any condition to pull myself out of here, but Dad, don't go down there. It's not safe. Help me out. We'll form a plan. Maybe we can raise a militia. We can do something, but you can't go down there.
That makes sense to me. I don't want to die.
Dab is a little torn, but I think he probably would listen to Talvin. So
we found Talvin. Now I can get the goblet.
All right, so I'll like prop him up, kind of the classic, his arm around my shoulder, and we'll, I guess, kind of drag him.
As you start to drag him, he's like, wait, and you can tell that he's like, he doesn't want to say this, but he's like, we have to see if the book is there. And he kind of points over to the little alcove area. It should be in there.
All right. This isn't good.
All right, so I'll slowly kind of like lean him up against like a column or a desk or something, and just check if it's there. That's all we're gonna do. And we're leaving.
Okay.
And Merrick, you can't. Like it just looks like a wall right now to you, but apparently there's. So you're assuming that there's some kind of like something, whether it's magical or a hidden door or whatever. So go ahead and make a d6 roll for me.
Okay. That is a 4.
Okay. You're like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, there's nothing here. I can't get in here. There's no door.
This is a wall. There's nothing here. There's no book.
Now, where Talvin pointed, do I see anything?
Mm-mm.
No.
It just looks like a wall to you too. I mean, you can roll as well. Roll a d6.
A 3.
Nope. You don't see anything either. And so Talvin's like, there was a door there. Wait, there's gotta be a way in there. There's gotta be like a key or something. We gotta find if the book is in there.
I'm gonna start trying to reach up and hit the wall, but I'm like hitting on I'm like 3 feet tall, smacking.
You're just like smacking it or whatever, like not. Yeah. Okay. Like, are you sort of meticulously going over the wall looking for like a crack or something, or like what do you know?
Like what a kid would do, kind of like
Sure.
rubbing his hand around it.
You don't exactly. It just kind of looks like a wall. Like that something's got to be there, right? But like it's just you just kind of slapping on the wall. Hey, let me in. Nothing's really standing out to you.
Oh, then I remember. I say, this reminds me of when Finn and I we made a secret hideout in the woods. Maybe I can look for some camouflage, and then I'll take a better look.
Okay. Yeah, and so as you sort of meticulously go over the wall, you know one of the best ways to find whether there's like a hole or something is to like pour some water. And so you kind of start pouring some water on the wall, and you do see as it's kind of like there's a lot of dust in this room, and it starts to sort of wash away the dust, and you can see just the thinnest line that makes like a door, and you kind of find where like the handle would be. And it's one of those things where you kind of, it looks flush against the door, but if you were to push it, which you do, you can, it would recess and then you could try to turn it.
Look, Brother Dell, we found a door.
Dad just kind of like walks over and looks at it.
Yep. He's like, open it. We have to see what's in there.
Can I check it for traps?
You can.
All right.
Go ahead and roll. Roll your percentile dice.
Okay.
You want 20 or less.
15.
All right. You discover that that there was a trap on this door at one time, but it's been disabled. It looks like it was probably like a little spike trap that what would happen is when you put your hand in and you turned it, it would activate a trap. But as you kind of like, you kind of are looking around, you're like, no, I think we're good here. So no traps, no immediate danger that you can see.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you want me to look in the room? I'll be real quiet.
Yeah. Well, you haven't opened the door yet. Do you want to open the door?
I'm looking back at Brother Dad.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Do you want me to open it and I'll be quiet? Or do you want to go?
You know what?
I'm just scared. I don't know.
You are a lot better at sneaking around. I will open the door for you and see him. He kind of staff and pulls thing out. Says, "I can cover you to the best of my ability. Give me your light."
Okay, I give him my little lantern.
Yeah. So I'll take that like hooded lantern and I'll kind of space it.
Mm-hmm.
Not right next to the door, like back a little ways. So when the door opens, there will be
shining in.
It'll be if anything is like right there, it'll be visible, but not like
not way down the corridor. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So you're gonna depress the thing, turn the handle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dad will do that, I guess.
Yep. And it's basically locked. Like you go to push it and it doesn't seem to open.
Just gonna look at Tal.
Oh, this is annoying. This is like the baker. He used to lock his muffins up at night. I got little tools I used for them though, and I would get the chocolate chip ones because they were the best.
Anson, you stole Brother Anson's muffins? And that was Talvin, yeah, saying that. He's like, Francis always thought it was you. You cost the church a lot of money in recompense. He paid for those.
They were really delicious. But, you know, if I hadn't stole those muffins, maybe I wouldn't have ended up down here and saved you, huh?
Perhaps not. Can you think you can open this one?
Let me see. And I pull out my little thieves' tools.
Yep.
All right.
Alrighty.
What do I got to roll for that?
Open locks, percentile dice. You want to get less than 25.
18.
Ooh, you got it. All right. So it's actually like a pretty standard tumbler. Like it doesn't seem that it is a specifically difficult lock. But it's it is a normal lock. And so yes, the door unlocks.
Okay. It's unlocked.
Right now, Ab, probably a little more cautious than before, will kind of reach out, depress the kind of like the button and then turn it.
Yep, and it opens.
Okay, now other hand, get the sling ready and then slowly. Does a pull open or push?
It pushes, so it pushes into the hallway.
Pushes, okay.
Yep.
So then I will kind of put my weight behind that and then just slowly kind of push it open. And I have my sling raised and I'm slowly spinning it.
I have my bow.
And then I'll open the door.
Sure. And the lantern illuminates a set of stairs ahead of you. They seem to go down probably a good 20 feet. I mean, it's hard to tell, but it goes beyond the light of your lantern where it's positioned right now. It's just stairs going down. There is, however, in this room, as you're kind of like looking around a little bit, you kind of go in, you see these stairs, and then there's like a little kind of, it almost looks like maybe a notch in the wall right to your left. And as you look over, you see essentially it's like an altar, and it has like a little sort of drawer or whatever that you'd pull out on the altar. And on the top is this pedestal. And it was this pedestal that it kind of looked like hands that would be holding something rather rectangular shaped. And there is no object that those items are holding. It is empty. So as Talvin kind of sees that, he's like, the book, it's missing. Yeah, and why don't we do that? Why don't we take a quick break and we can reconvene after that. You can turn off your cameras if you want, whatever. It's no big deal.
All right. Be right back.
All right, be right back.
Sounds good.
Bio break.
Yep. All right. So anyone who might be watching this, I apologize for the camera issues. New camera, not sure quite what's going on here, but been running some basic fantasy. And if you're unfamiliar with the rules, you'll want to go to basicfantasy.org, download the free rule set. It's excellent. But this game uses much of the rules that you would find in the basic and expert set of Dungeons and Dragons from the 80s. And one thing in particular that I am doing and that I'm eager to see is whether my wandering monster checks will produce anything that I can use to kill these guys with, because that pesky halfling took out my bad guy real quick. So far I hope it's a little bit spooky, a little bit grim. We'll see. I don't do horror quite like Caleb can, but
I love the dark feel to it.
Yeah. It's kind of inspired a lot by Diablo, like the original Diablo. I mean, it's not exactly that, but it's
I was gonna ask if you had Diablo in there.
Well, it's
gonna find the butcher.
No, not yet. Some things are gonna be familiar, but like when I was picturing this in my head, I heard the Diablo sort of dungeon music in my head. So imagine that playing as
cool.
As you're descending. Cool. All right. Well, are you guys ready to pick it up, or do you have any questions before we descend down into the depths?
I'm good.
All right. Perfect. So you see the stairs ahead of you. This ritual chamber is empty, but again, on that sort of dais, there was like a what do you call it? Like a little desk with like a drawer in it, and then the pedestal on top that would hold the book, but the book is no longer there.
All right, so yeah, I guess I would kind of look at Tal and just kind of, I won't say, I just kind of just shake his head.
The bad guy's got the book of the dead.
Talvin, is there another way in to this place down there besides? And he's kind of just pointing to the entryway. Besides here,
he says, "The church yard. I mean, you could go through the main mausoleum. I mean, you've seen it, but it's a long way away. It would take you. It's not worth it."
Well, guess there's only just looks around. Guess there's only one way they went.
He's like, he kind of gets his face as close as he can to you, Dab, and he says, I have no right to ask you this, but you gotta leave me here. You gotta go down and find that book. He says, I think I have enough energy. I can crawl out. I'll get help if I can. But you gotta find that book. Now don't. And he's like, don't do anything heroic. Just find where it is. And if the cultists have it, then come back and let us know.
You sure? You sure you can make it out?
And he's like, yeah, of course. I can make it out. We just got to know if they have the book.
I don't like doing this, Tal, but if you say you can get out, then we'll go down.
All right. And so you guys will descend down into the crypts beneath the church.
As you start walking down the stairs, I'll turn to Merrick. Can you see in the dark?
Nope.
All right. I was going to say we could put out everything but the hooded lantern and almost do a dim light with it, but maybe we should still do that. I don't know.
But if it's dark, they can't see me.
Yeah, but Dab... You know what? No, Dab's going to have the lantern out. He doesn't...
Sure. Like holding the lantern in one hand and maybe like the quarterstaff in the other as like a walking stick. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like after what happened when he got here, like the cackling and whatever was going on, it just he needs a light. He can't be alone in the dark with this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, yes. I rolled a 1. That doesn't bode well for you. No, sorry. Okay, so as you kind of take the lantern and you descend the stairs one at a time, your footsteps sound almost muted. You would expect them to sound very loud, but it's just that like almost that buzzing and that oppressive sort of heat and just presence is almost muffling your ears a little bit. And as you get further down the stairs, 1, 2, 3, you start to hear this like chanting and this. It's faint and it's far off, but it sounds very frightening, right? Like it's in this language that you've never heard, and it starts to almost like echo and reverberate. So it'll get louder and then it'll go quiet, and it'll get louder and go quiet. And as you go down, I need you to make another save versus spells for me, just a regular roll.
Okay. Fail.
Okay. So the light of your lantern seems to barely illuminate in front of you, just enough that you can kind of see enough not to trip over whatever might be there, but this darkness is just closing in all about you. You start to feel just like this claustrophobic feeling as you can hardly see. It almost starts to feel hard to breathe, right? As like maybe like this darkness is taking on this physical form, and the voices in your head just start to tell you can't do this, you're gonna die down here, like this is not worth it, you're not a priest, and for Merrick it's like, you can't possibly, you're a 12-year-old kid, you can't survive down here, that priest is just looking to kill you, maybe he's part of this, maybe you're a sacrifice. And so again, you have the half movement speed and -1 to all your rolls for right now.
I don't know if we should do this anymore. What are you taking me down here for, Brother Dab?
Yeah, you see, Dab, as this is going on, he takes out some more oil for the lantern and kind of with shaky hand starts kind of almost like just kind of pours it in and trying to get the flame bigger. And I mean, maybe the flame does get bigger, but I'm assuming it doesn't show any more than before. So there's still some left of it, but he just gets off. He just like throws the rest of the oil down at his feet. And we see the lantern he just stands there for like a minute, and you can see his whole body kind of shaking. He starts twitching a little bit, and then eventually one step forward.
And as you do that, you take a step forward. The oil from the lamp is you're kind of walking through it and you're kind of dragging it behind you. And as you do that, it starts to ignite just a little bit. Now, not enough that it's going to be a full conflagration or whatever, but there are sparks dancing across the lantern oil as you're walking past. And as you do so, you start to see this, it almost looks like flames ahead of you. You've come to the bottom of the stairs and it starts to level out. And you can feel like on either side of you, there seems to be like a little bit of maybe a breeze or something, as if there might be like a room on either side of you. But at the end of this hallway, not actually quite at the end of this hallway, but maybe as at the very edge of your lantern light, you start to see this like almost dancing lights, and then you hear this like sound.
What was that?
His dad finally broke free and took that one step. Just stops again. Probably. Now you said there was breezes, almost like there were rooms kind of on the side.
Yeah, like it feels like, you came into this hallway, but then all of a sudden it feels like maybe there's more to this than just a hallway. Now you're going down into the crypts, right? So typically what you would expect would be that there would be like little rooms dug out that would hold the bodies of the priests or whoever might have died in service to the church. Yeah.
So Dad would probably just go into one of these alcoves, probably grab Merrick as he does it. He will put out his the
lantern.
Would he
do it?
Yeah, he probably would. He'll put out his lantern, Dab's.
Sure.
And then Merrick's, he'll put the hood down so there's like, it's not out, but it's very dim light.
Yep.
And
I can't see anything. What's going on?
I guess, yeah, what's like in the alcove?
Well, if it's very dim, then it's very difficult to see, but it's just a room. It's just a sort of rough hewn stone room. There is a sarcophagus in this room. And it looks like there are like tapestries and stuff that would have sort of depicted the life of whoever was in here. You can't make out the details because it's a little too dark, but there's really nothing to it other than this sarcophagus. It's very small. Merrick can kind of fit in here and could probably get around the back of the sarcophagus if he needed to. You couldn't, Deb, because it's meant to house a sarcophagus. People aren't supposed to go in here. They would probably pay respects like from the entrance right where you are by looking in, and if they needed to, and then back out. You, for a minute, as you enter this room, and Merrick, you don't necessarily feel anything strange here, but Brother Deb, you feel like something in the air shifted for just a second, and then it all seems
in this room.
Yes, but then it all seems kind of normal again. Normal for this area, this terrible, oppressive, whatever. But you still hear that growling down the hall, and it seems to be getting closer.
All right, so he's gonna grab this holy symbol. Merrick, get back, hide if you can.
Okay.
I guess as far back as, I know there's not much I can do in here. As far back as I can go and just stand there, and I start like muttering small. He doesn't really know. He's like making up a prayer as he goes. He does not really spiritual, religious type prayer, but just something to Iran.
Sure, yeah. Iran, if you get me out of this, I'll never sin again.
I'm trying to think of the thing from Conan. Crom, if you don't help me, the hell with you.
Yeah. Like,
That's awesome.
I'll get rid of all my porn, I promise. Nice. All right.
Actually, it's almost a continuation of the one from earlier. He's like, I know I asked for help. And if you're out there and you're listening, this would be one hell of a time to give that help.
Yeah. Make another spell save. +2 to your roll, Brother Dab.
Okay, so +2 plus the -1. All right.
Right, yeah, so +1 in total.
Oh, no.
Nope. Okay. You start again, the voice of self-doubt, right? Iran doesn't care about you. You're not even a holy man. Like, you barely survived the battle, and Brother Talvin just took pity on you because of your deformity. You can't possibly survive down here. And I mean, it's your own, it's like sort of your own voice, your own self-doubts, but yeah, it's not a happy time.
Kind of feel like Dab's almost having a breakdown. So, yeah. I mean, he's standing there and he's still holding that and giving a prayer, but you can see he's sweating, like visible sweat just kind of coming off him. His skin's gotten paler. Probably see he's twitching, kind of like horror movie twitch, like just standing there. Probably his prayer, probably with the twitching and just the fear, probably sounds more like just muttering like nonsense at this point. But he is still actually doing his kind of on the fly prayer.
Sure. Yep. And I
do still have my staff though.
Sure. Yeah. So, and are you guys still going to continue to stand in the room and just wait?
Well, it's getting closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say at this point, Dab is barely holding it together.
I would be backing out.
Much as I don't want to.
Yeah. Backing out of the room, like back into the hallway?
Yeah, Brother Dab, we got to go. There's something in there. It's growling at us.
Yeah. I'd say if he sees Merrick going to leave the room, that would, I guess, like break whatever was a hold of him and like to get him moving again.
Sure. And so as you kind of come out of the room here, you almost get hit with this like wave of heat. And as you turn your head again, almost in slow motion, right, you see this figure sort of wreathed in flame coming at you, quadrupedal, and you hear this terrible snarling. And as it gets close enough to you, you see these bright red eyes that look like they're glowing with fire. And it opens its mouth and lets out this terrible growl. And you see these like razor sharp teeth. Roll initiative.
Yo, what the hell? 5.
So I apologize. Wandering monsters, I rolled a 1. So
6.
Oh, you guys are lucky. All right.
Woo!
So the ever dexterous Merrick Hill, you see this, the best way you can describe it is like a dog from hell, snarling at you, wreathed in flame. What is it? Let's see my actions I can do. There's nothing. Let me see. You can standard attack, or I could run. You could run away. Yep. Run away. Yeah, he's gonna run away. He's just fucking 12-year-old. He's gonna be like, Brother Dab, you gotta go, and then I'm just gonna run away. Yeah. All right. So really the only place to run is back up the stairs. Yeah. You want to do that? Okay. And I'm going to get the door ready to close. Okay. Brother Dab, what are you going to do?
You know what? Probably say he comes out and this monstrosity is in front. Even with Aran backing him up, there's I have leather, I have a staff. He literally looks like his staff, looks at the beast, and then Merrick takes off. He just right after him takes off.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So as you start to run, this thing kind of pounces and leaps a little bit. You manage to just barely outrun it, as like you can almost feel its hot, like fiery teeth clamp down onto the heel of your boot, but you manage to like rip the boot out of it as you get up to the door, and you're running. And Merrick, you would see him coming, and this big thing coming behind you. And so like you sort of push open the door, and you guys kind of tumble back out into the hallway. And I imagine like you'd shut the door or whatever. Yeah. And so like you shut the door and you're pushing your 12-year-old halfling self up against the door, and you hear this and then and then it disappears. Like the sound just goes away all of a sudden, right? And you're back up in this room, and you're looking around, and Brother Deb, you might kind of look out and you see that Talvin had made it about halfway across the room before he seemed to have collapsed. So he's again lying collapsed on the floor. Yeah.
Just get him out of here. I got my other potion we can give him, and we got to go.
All right. So yeah, after overcoming that shock, I will stand up, kind of probably run over to Talvin.
Mm-hmm.
Is he still alive?
Oh yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, okay. He's conscious. He's like,
okay,
I'm sorry, I can't. I just couldn't make it.
So I will hurriedly kind of like pick him up, get his arm over me, and then I will move his litter as quick as I can, probably dragging him along, and like, we need to get out of here. Beast, fire.
And he says,
probably almost insane at this point. Just beast, fire, big teeth, eyes.
And at that he's like, oh, okay. Did you find the book? Did you see it? Do they have it?
No, I didn't see the book.
He's like,
we didn't get. We got down there. This thing was right there.
Yeah, and so he says, "You did what you could. We couldn't expect anything more. Fine, let's go. We'll find another way." And so you guys would make your way kind of back up into the church. All right. Every footstep is a struggle, as the voices in your head now, they're just being mean now. They're just like, you guys are cowards, you're failures. You've doomed your town to destruction and hell. You should just, go throw yourself off the palisade walls. That would be a kinder fate for you than what's to come. Right. And as you kind of make your way back up into the church, you finally kind of open the door behind the tapestry and you get out into the hallway, and immediately you feel better, right? Like, it's just the holy presence of this place. You feel cooler. That oppressive, like, it literally felt like something was just like pressing you down all around you, is gone. You can breathe again, finally. And even Brother Talvin seems to perk up, right? And he's resting on your shoulder, but he actually starts to kind of carry his weight a little bit more. And he says, "We must go to the Father. Father Francis must know about this." And as you guys make your way into Father Francis's, chamber, right? Talvin comes in and he's about to say, "Father Francis," and then you hear this great sort of crash of lightning right outside, and you look, and there's no rain, but you start to see like the sun is like going into an eclipse, right? So everything is starting to get dark, and then the rain does start to come down, but it's not rain. It's like ash just falling from the sky. And Father Francis looks up and he says, "Oh no, it's begun." And that's where we'll end it.
Oh, shit.
It has begun.
Oh, shit.
It has begun. Yes.
Fuck out of that town. he's taking that golden goblet and getting the hell out. Holy crap.
You know what, though? We're alive. That
is,
you are, well, yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing, though, about what's to come. So, thank you guys for playing, obviously. This was interesting because, again, I kind of wanted to see what the reaction would be. Now, this will be interesting because, of course, we had 2 players. If we had a full cast of 4, let's say, I wonder if that would be different, although there would be potentially more obstacles. But a couple things to note. always search the rooms that you're in. Because that might have made things a lot easier. And
I was thinking that, but I was like, that's not Deb.
Nope, get out of here. And and so this will be fun because what I intend to do in the future is either run the continuation of this particular storyline, and you guys are more than welcome to partake, or I may rerun this scenario with more players or different characters or whatever and see how the outcome plays out. But my goal is ultimately to kind of create a living story with this so that no matter who plays it, the events of the previous session influence the next session.
So, like a they're called a marsh campaign.
Like the West Marches?
Yeah, West Marches.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah, this one's a little bit more linear, at least in the beginning. There's a storyline that is kind of progressing. But yes, in a sense like that. So unfortunately, we don't have Heroes of Dell's Ford this evening. They have doomed the town.
Hey, we are heroes. You just don't know it yet.
We have only survivors.
You would have been dead.
Awesome.
Who's this Francis guy sending a 12-year-old kid?
Yeah. Well, he gave you a choice. You saw gold and fame and riches, and were like,
you gave a 12-year-old kid a choice with a gold goblet.
Awesome.
Oh my God.
So very simple, basic fantasy, awesome rule set, simple recording. This will probably go up on YouTube. Maybe I don't think I'm going to edit it just because I want to keep it in a sort of a pure form like this game is. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if anybody watches this and you want to see more of this storyline, which is going to be part of my eventual Cataclysm campaign, thumbs up, comment, subscribe, that whole thing. Take it easy, guys.